Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly confab with Ted Dabrowski, President of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Here's an Illinois policy, the tax credit scholarship program that's on the chopping block in Springfield right now, as you just heard Jeannie Ives talking about in her weekly commentary.
It's so sad.
Curtis Tarver is a Dem socialist state rep. Black dude. This from a profile at the Big Shoulders Fund website, bigshouldersfund.org. The grant-making, Catholic school-oriented scholarship program that been in existence for a long time, preceding the tax scholarship program. Curtis Tarver, state rep, Democrat Socialist. I've always been passionate about Catholic education. It's had a big impact on my life, said Tarver, who grew up in Morgan Park and attended Marian Catholic in the Heights until his parents could no longer afford it. The transition he had to make after leaving Catholic school reinforced his desire to be involved with an organization that makes it possible for financially struggling families to keep their kids in a Catholic school. Oh, yeah? Where's Curtis Tarver now? Has anybody been hearing from Curtis Tarver? Did I miss it? Has Curtis Tarver been screaming from the rooftops, we need to protect the tax credit scholarship program? I'm calling on Governor Pritzker to marshal the resources and the votes to move this thing to his desk to extend the tax credit scholarship program. Did I miss it?
And whenever has the state legislature or a governor taken away a tax credit scholarship fund?
Mike Simmons is a state senator. He was appointed to replace Heather Staines. He's the dude with the Coolio haircut.
Oh, that guy.
He's also one of the gay caucus members, because that's really important to the Chicago and Springfield Press Corps. He did this interview in Chicago Magazine about the rich tapestry of his life, and talking about growing up in Lincoln Square, access to a grocery store. River Park was right down the street. I went to Budlong Elementary School, and I was assaulted by a security guard for being gay. That's what put me on a path to going to Catholic school. I went to high school at St. Ignatius. Oh, really? So has anybody heard from Senator Mike Simmons about the tax credit scholarship program?
He got to go to St. Ignatius.
Anybody hear him screaming from the rooftops about opportunities for other kids like he had? Curtis Tarver, Chris Welch, who we've talked about before, the House Speaker, and girlfriend beater who sends his kids to Timothy Christian. Don Harmon, kids, Ignatius, Senate President. Could go on and on. Obviously, Governor Pritzker, Latin School. We could go on and on about these politicians, like we talk about Chicago public school teachers. Half send their kids to private school. Where are they? Ted Dabrowski, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
So what's your handle on where things stand with the tax credit scholarship program?
Well, I've talked to a lot of people, and I got very concerned because we've been groveling. I hate to use that word. I don't hate to use it. We've been groveling the legislature to keep extending this Invest in Kids Act, right? It's a tax credit scholarship. There's about 9,000 kids who participate, and these are the few kids that get to flee the Chicago public schools and many of the failing schools across the state with a scholarship. And I don't hear anybody getting excited about it. And with Brandon Johnson and the CTU taking over Chicago, I'm like, there's no way that thing passes anymore, not unless people are screaming, like you just said. And I think you said it well. And so I checked around and I said, well, it looks like this thing's dead. And we put out a piece the other day to that effect. And, I got an earful from a lot of people saying, no, it's still alive. Pritzker still wants it.
Oh, yeah, I got the same earful.
Yeah. And so it's funny is that, NBC, which is wonderful, NBC5 actually, took our piece and went and asked Governor Pritzker, asked the unions, asked some others about whether this thing is dead or alive. And, Pritzker gave the perfect answer, which kind of tells you everything you need to know. His office said, look, the Invest in Kids Act has to pass the General Assembly. If it doesn't pass, that would not be the governor eliminating it. That would be the General Assembly eliminating it.
Right.
So basically,
couldn't he veto it?
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't he override?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I guess,
he can't override something that doesn't get to his desk.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it has to be sent to him, and he's playing Pontius Pilate, as we said before. In 2021, because I don't want to just talk about Tarver and Simmons and all the other Democrat socialist hypocrites. I also want to talk about Republican hypocrites and cowards. In 2021, State Representative Amy Grant from Glen Ellen filed legislation which sought to make the scholarship program permanent. She got 55 co-sponsors. She needed 60. 38 Republicans, 17 Democrats. And then someone got to some of the co-sponsors, and 16 removed their names. Gee, I wonder if it was the teachers' unions. 16 of the 55 removed their names, including 8 Republicans. 8 Republicans removed their names from sponsoring it, making it permanent under pressure from the teachers' unions. Dave Severin, Charlie Meyer, Amy Ellick, Mike Murphy, Jackie Haas, Dan Brady, Dan Swanson, Tom Bennett, now a state senator. Tom Bennett is. These are mostly downstate Republicans, but regardless. By the way, 7 Republicans never put their name on the bill to make this tax credit scholarship program permanent, including your current House Republican super minority leader, Tony McCumbee. So again, this is who your Republican Party is, too.
Yeah, and that's what's fascinating. So that's why I'm very very negative this thing having a chance to pass. I would love to be wrong. I've said that. I would love to be surprised, but I argue that it's not going to happen without a massive pushback, which we shouldn't expect. I mean, we'll expect it from the families. We'll expect it from the groups that are participating. I was at the Chicago Hope Academy the other day. They have a big reliance on those vouchers, on the scholarships, and it is an amazing, magnificent school. For those who don't know it, Chicago Hope Academy, and yet they can just pull the plug on a lot of these schools who are dependent on some of these scholarships.
But it's helping minority children. I mean, can some of these kids and their parents go to Springfield and say, why are white people trying to take away our dreams for better education for our kids?
They will go to Springfield. But I tell you, the big argument, you're going to hear this from both Pritzker and Johnson, is look, these tax credit scholarships, we can't afford to hand out or to give up tax revenues when we need billions more for our public schools. And they're going to keep saying that we need more money for CPS and for other schools, when in fact we spend more than 43 other states, and we have disastrous results. I even published today. I was on with the Joliet radio station today. And I didn't realize how pathetic the results are in Joliet as well. It's like really back to 1 out of 10 kids can read and do math. It's sad, it's pathetic, and yet our own legislature will cut out the opportunity for kids to find something different.
Yeah, and now they've got an additional argument to make because, as you report at Wirepoints, the state tax revenues are down in Illinois, so all the more urgent is the need to kill the scholarship program, to gobble up what we have and ship it off to the K through 12 government school systems, right?
Yeah, I mean, they'll use that excuse. They're going to they'll use every excuse they can, and they will, because they're really good at it. What's fascinating, we wrote about this morning too, though, is that next door on either side, both in Iowa and in Indiana, they're passing universal school choice. And so that means that any family that wants school choice will have access to a voucher or an education savings account. So they're going the opposite way. They're going for We're going to embrace school choice. Everybody has access to it. It won't really matter your income. Indiana will cover about 97% of all people. Iowa will be everybody. So it's fascinating to watch what's happening there in terms of educational freedom, while we are going into the opposite land.
Again, where are we? I mean, Wirepoints did this updating of why is Illinois' tax revenue all of a sudden plummeting?
Well, yeah, well, surprise, surprise, and we've written about it, ad nauseum. We had over $200 billion come in from the federal government for the private sector, the public sector. There's another $200 billion of stimulus that ended up coming through our share of stimulus money that was spent also by the Federal Reserve. So we've been bathed in money. Well, guess what? That money's running out, and we have no idea what it's going to look like when that money runs out, and what's going to happen to the tax revenues of the city and the state, Chicago and Illinois. And when that money runs out, let's see what the scramble looks like.
Yeah, I'm sure since we're such a magnet for Americans and businesses, I'm sure that we'll make it up through growth, right?
Well, we'll make it up through the illegal immigration that's coming in, I guess. I mean, that's
there you go.
That's the only way to counter it, right? We've seen our people leave, we're seeing our businesses leave, and sadly, we're going to have, again, the opposite effect of attracting a lot of poor people who are going to want a lot of services. They actually come to Illinois because they're being promised services. So it can be really tough to manage, especially for Chicago that already can't handle its own crime, its own poverty, its own flight of people. Now we're inviting a very difficult crowd to try to manage.
He is Ted Dabrowski, President of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Ted, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
A storm is on the horizon.